Hello, this is Julia. I'm going to talk about CCNA Security Lab 4A ACLs, Access Control List. The first thing you do is become familiar with your topology. On the far left, we have a server. We call it PCA. That's connected via switch to a couple of routers, all the way to the far end where we have a PC. The first thing you should do is check for connectivity end to end. And that's what we're going to do in this next slide. Yes, this is step 1 of the lab, under task 1. I've actually double-clicked on the PC and clicked on the command prompt, and then I came down into the command prompt and I typed in a ping. Ping 192.168.1.3. This is connecting from the PCC to the server A. This was successful, and all is well. The next thing I want to try is to see if from that PC I can actually go to the loopback address on router 2. And that's going to be here. So I'm going to do an SSH-L, login as SSH admin 192.168.2.1. That was successful. It gave me an open and it asked for the password. The next step we did was he actually went from PCC, we clicked on desktop, and we went to the browser. Here we typed in 192.168.1.3 to actually go to the browser and try to attempt to connect to the server. We were successful, as you will see. Connectivity step from the server itself. We're going to try to connect back to the PC. So I typed in ping 192.168.3.3 and I was successful. So I've now checked from one end to the other and I can connect. I'm ready to begin securing. Now for task 2. We need to put a simple ACL on all 3 routers. So I went ahead and clicked on the topology and I'm in the first one. On the top left here, we have the first router. If you'll notice, I did a couple of asterisks. An asterisk is nothing other than a comment, and this is just to help you understand where I'm at in this lab. So I typed in ***2, this is securing access to the routers. And step 1, what I did for that step. Router 1, access-list 10, permit 192.168.3.3, which is our PC. Anything. Okay, we've opened that up. Down in the bottom left, you'll notice I did the same exact thing for router number 2, and I did the same thing for router number 3. At this point, the access list is just kind of out there in the open, and we're going to, in the next step, apply that. In the previous step, we actually came up here and we said access list 10. Now, what we've done in this next step, which is step 2 of task 2, we came down and we said, okay, on line VTY 0 _ 4, apply this. So you did access-class 10 in. So that's ingress. So that the inward traffic is going to be filtered by this. And again, here's the access list that we're going by. Access list 10 permit. This is 3.3, which is that PC. So do remember an access list, after you start one, the very next thing, unless you tell it differently, is going to be an implicit deny. So number 10, permit, I told which ones to allow and what the definition of that was. So the very next statement, written or not, says deny any at all. So any would what would be happening. So anything, anywhere, not going unless I have permitted it. So do remember that. Down here is router 2. I've done the same thing on line VTY 0 _ 4, access-class 10 for the inward or the ingress traffic. Same thing for number 3. On step 3, there's a couple of things we need to check. Number 1 is from PCC, which is on the right. We've got to make sure that it can get to the 192.168.2.1 in an SSH. So here I tried that, and it says SSH-L, the login was SSH admin 192.168.2.1, and it was successful. I didn't type in the password, but it did actually let me in. So I'm good there. On the other side, here I went and tried again from the server, trying to get to that same location. SSH-L, SSH admin 192.168.2.1, and it was refused. That again is because I only allowed 3.3, which is the PC, to go. I did not say that the server could go, which has an entirely different address. But 3.3, which is the PC, check, it does work. And this is again as I expected from my access control list. When you're creating access control list, the best advice that anyone could possibly give you is to actually use Notepad. Do not type your access control list directly into a router or even a simulator. Put them in Notepad. Check them first. In a simulator such as I'm using as Packet Tracer, there is no reordering the access list. In a real router, you can go back in and type numbers to reorder a list, but in Packet Tracer, that's not going to happen. So type it in Notepad first, check it, then copy it over to your Packet Tracer. Now we're in Router 3. We're going to do Task 3, Step 1. All of these are actually the access list commands. Access list 1, deny IP 10.0.0.0, and then the 0.255.255, any protocol. So notice these, we go through and deny, deny, deny. So until you get to this one, we've just said no, 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 no. And unless you say a permit somewhere, nothing is actually going to get through. So don't forget this one. So what we did was we limited the ones that we did not want to work. Here are all our deny statements up front. And we were very specific about what we did not want to work. At the end, we came up and said anything else that we did not deny, go ahead and let anything through going to anywhere that it wants to go. For Step 2 in Task 3, we're going to actually apply the access list to the serial interface. Until you do this, nothing really takes place. You've written a great access list up here, but the trick is to apply it and apply it carefully and correctly. We're going to say on the serial interface 001, we want the IP access group 100 to be applied to the ingress or the inward interface. Step 3, the first thing we do is to check to make sure, after we've written our ACLs and we've applied them, are they working as we expected. So we went to PCC and we tried to ping 192.168.1.3. Our request came out timed out. In other words, it could not reach it. That's because our access lists were supposed to block this, and they did. We did not allow traffic to go from the PC to this other location. So our control list is working as we expected. Now for Task 3, Step 4, we're going to remove the access control list that we placed on the serial 001. So here we go. We're removing the access control list. We said no IP access group 100 in. So again, IP access group -100 in, put it on, so the word no is going to take it off. Then I came over here on the PC-C and I actually said, hey, let's ping it and see what happens, because before it had timed out to ping 192.168.1.3, and it was successful. So taking that access group off of the serial interface caused my PC to begin to ping again over to the area where I need it. On Task 4, Step 1, we want to deny all outbound packets with a source address outside the range of our internal addresses. So here's what we do. We create the access list. Here's our list, access-list 110, permit IP 192.168.3.0, and then there is our mask. Anything. So it doesn't matter what protocol you're using, anything will be fine. The next thing that we did is we applied it to our Ethernet interface. So you go interface FA01. You said IP access-group 110 ingress. And you said exit. And that will take care of that. And we're now filtering for this address with any protocol it wants to use. So we've said to permit. So guess what? If it's not in this range, the answer is no, it cannot go. Step 1, it said to go to the PCC and you click on the desktop, and I chose the web browser icon. I typed in 192.168.1.3, and yes, I confirmed that I can go through the browser and actually access that. Task 5, I did both steps 2 and 3 here together. These are the most important steps to really get right. Here's the step 2, and I actually put in comments so you can tell exactly what my statements do. Again, the exclamation means that it's not going to work as a command, it's just a comment. So permit any outside host to access the DNS on server PCA. Here's how I accomplish that. Access-list 120 permit UDP any host being a single address 192.168.1.3 equals domain. I left it, just pressed enter here so that you could see these easier. Again, here's a comment. This is my statement that does permit any outside host to access SMTP on server PC-A. I did access-list 120 permit TCP any host, any protocol to only one address 192.168.1.3 equals SMTP. The next statement is going to permit any outside host to access FTP on that PCA server. Access-list 120 permit TCP protocol any host, again one address 192.168.1.3 equals FTP. So I've got 3 permits so far. Now I'm getting into my deny. So this is going to deny any outside host access to the HTTPS server on PCA, which is our server address. Access-list 120 deny TCP any host 192.168.1.3 equals port 443. Now I've got one more statement. It's going to permit PCC to access router 1 via SSH. So I did access-list 120 permit TCP host 192.168.3.3 host 10.111 equal port 22. After I've done all of those, the very next thing I need to do is to come back and apply that to the correct interface. And it's going to do on incoming traffic into the serial 000. So I'm going to apply this access control list to interface serial 000, incoming traffic. Again, we're working with router 1. I type in interface serial 0-0-0 IP access-group 120 in or ingress, and now we've got it applied. I've actually went to PCC, and I'm going to try and see if he can get to the loopback 0, because by our new set of access control lists, that shouldn't work, and I tried it. In the browser 192.168.2.1, server reset connection, in other words, not getting there. It did refuse. 6, step 1. I wanted to verify that from the server, which is PCA, I could not ping the loopback address on router 2. So I did a ping 192.168.2.1 and it timed out. So the ACLs are blocking this. On task 6, step 2, I need to make changes in the ACL to permit and deny specific traffic in this case. So what I'm looking at is I needed to permit the ICMP echo replies. So here you go. Permit ICMP echo reply. I allowed that. The other thing I needed to do is from outside networks and deny all other incoming. So here I go. I wanted the unreachables to also come to me. Here I said to deny ICMP from anywhere else. And at the end, anything else that I didn't choose to deny, go ahead and allow anything else to come through. So that's what the last permit is. Again, if I forgot to list something that it was a normal traffic, this would take care of it. Otherwise, everything is blocked out unless it's specified. 2 steps. The third step is just to verify a ping and make sure that you can actually receive, go from PCA to the loopback interface, and that should be successful. But there's one more thing. If you want to achieve 100% on this, there's a little glitch in this that I found, that you need to go back on that third router and add back in this ALCL to serial 001 interface serial, again 001 IP access group 100N. It's kind of a little strange glitch in it, but do go and add that back. Thank you, and I've enjoyed working with you.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.